Committee to order. First item, approval of the August 4th Building Committee minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 2, facilities update. Mr. Toddy.
Hello.
There he is.
It's not over here.
Hello, good evening. So I'll start where I always do with a custodial update. We completed the summer top to bottom cleaning of the schools. Schools are open, the students have returned, and we managed to get everything put back, we get everything taken out of place, washed, scrubbed, cleaned, and put back into place. And we had a lot of support this summer from high school students. We had a couple of part-time positions filled by some of our high school students, and they did a great job, and just a big thank you to them for the work that they did. To put this cleaning in a little bit of perspective for you, this is a pile of empty 5-gallon buckets that almost fills the boiler room at the middle school, and this represents about half of the wax and stripper that went into just the middle school. We used 500 gallons at just the middle school of wax and stripper. That's half of it right there. So that's not counting, that's just to do floors. That's not counting all the other cleaning that went on in the buildings, just to give you an idea of the amount of work that gets put into that. We now have 5 custodial openings, a little bit up from 3, but we've had some good luck with interviews. I think we'll be filling those pretty quickly. Grounds is now operating at full strength. Very happy to report that. That's been a while coming. And fall sports are underway, so the grounds crew's been busy painting lines and keeping that ready to go. Playing a little bit of catch up with trimming and mowing because of how short-staffed we had been over the summer, but we're in good shape overall. And I'd like to take a minute to thank teachers, administrators, and parent volunteers that did gardening over the past, really anytime over the summer, but anytime you go to any of our schools and you see gardened areas, it's the work of volunteers. The grounds guys don't have the bandwidth, we don't have the strength to do that. We support them with mulch and stuff like that, but all of the work, when you see plantings or an area got weeded, that's a volunteer that did that. So you can see a lot of it at a lot of our schools, and just thank you to the community and the people that chipped in on that. Maintenance is operating at about 66% strength right now. We 100% completed an air filter change before the students came back into the buildings, which was a huge task, and we got that done. Over the summer, we took care of interior painting at the high school library, the Chamberlain Library and Art Room. We did some offices and a cafeteria at William Allen School. We did some exterior painting at Gonick, the high trim. We had to rent a lift to get up there to do that, but that whole green band around the old building was taken care of. And we completed the EFIS project at the high school. Any of the stucco parts on the new addition to the high school, another lift rental there to get all of that taken care of, but that's all been patched up and is now, once again, weather tight. Our JCB loader is, well, it's actually back up today. It's just been down for quite a while, and you guys have heard me say before, so this machine, it was the low bid. We bought the low bid, and the problem with the JVC machine is it's all British components in it, which means they're not metric and they're not SAE, they're British. You can't get this stuff anywhere, and there's really only one company that can work on the machine. So we had to keep going back to the same company, and it took them 5 or 6 times to come back to rebuild much of the hydraulic system, or that got wiped out for a reason we still don't fully understand. I point that out because someday you're going to hear me say, this is just like the JVC, because it's not always the best idea to buy the lowest bid. Sometimes there's situations where this company will put forth the product at a lower price because they know they're going to get you on the maintenance in the long term, and that's what we're seeing with this product. That's why I point that out to you a few times about the JVC. But it's working now, so we're in good shape. Bud Carlson, we got some new doors installed upstairs, and we're waiting for an electronics upgrade. Lead in drinking water. House Bill 1421 was passed, which lowered the threshold for lead in drinking water in schools from 15 parts per billion to 5 parts per billion. All schools and daycares are tasked to do 3 successful rounds of testing. I'm sure Ann can tell you all about it. If you remember the last round of testing we did, we voluntarily went to 5 parts per billion. So we were ahead of this law. We're starting our next round of testing now. Hopefully we'll be in good shape because we had remediate it down to below 5 parts per billion before. I'm sure we're going to find something somewhere, some minimal nominal amount that we'll have to remediate, and we will take care of it. We're signed up with a Get the Lead Out of Drinking Water program through New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, which is going to completely cover the cost of testing. We still need to provide the labor to collect all the samples and to mark them up and organize them all and get them shipped in there, but the testing itself will be taken care of by then. And then I'm sure there'll be some grants for some remediation, whatever we have to do, but we're working on that. Maple Street Magnet School, the electric upgrade is, the electric is complete, just a little bit of landscaping left, and we're still waiting for Breeze Line to move the data cable. You're probably going to be surprised to hear that I'm struggling with the cable company's customer service. I get in touch with people and they don't always get back to me, and they don't always show up when they say they're going to. So we'll get through that though, I'm sure. William Allen School, the Woodman Ave improvement project that the city, I told you last month that would probably affect the bus route. It did. The bus routes are now a little bit different than they were last year, but school's open and those lanes have been marked and everything's working out great over there. We're discussing embellishments to the retention pond, and the idea was we would work with the city that they could build this next to our playground, but we wanted to add things to it that would help make it maybe an educational area, or maybe add some outdoor seating, just stuff that would make the playground more beautiful, you know, so it becomes a win-win. The city gets their MS4 permitting work, and we get some improvements to our playground, and we're talking about those embellishments now, exactly what they'll be. I told you last month about a SAFE grant, Security Action for Education. We have submitted for 2 projects. One is the middle school entry and one is Maple Street camera upgrade. The Public School Infrastructure Commission, this is the board that meets to review these, and they make recommendations to the governor on which projects to accept, met, or they were supposed to have met on 8/24. I didn't hear that they didn't meet, but we're waiting for the fruit of that meeting, waiting for some announcements as to what will be funded, so stay tuned on that. Spalding High School, we did a lot of paving out there, and this is the baseball field dugout behind it, and the big log that you're seeing there is actually the base of one of the old wooden light poles. Some people in the community probably remember the old wooden light poles that were out there, and when they got removed, large chunks of them were left underground, and we found some. But that project is completed. You can see some of the new drainage going in there. And here is the final product, the walkway from the high school to this building. I told you before, this is an evacuation route for the high school. And we used to have a tremendous problem with puddling right behind the bleachers here where this catch basin is. And after the last rains, it stayed nice and dry. The water went where it was supposed to. So pretty happy about that. Also happy to report the Spalding High School auditorium deluge flood work is complete. We've finally got all the pieces and parts are in place. That is 100%. So that one's behind us. I was on a skiing trip when that let go, so it was skiing weather until now. Spalding High School Tower, I'm sure some of you noticed that we're up there recoating the main tower. We anticipate completion on that probably by the end of next week. That draperies will all be down, and I was hoping to have that down before students arrive for the first day. But it will be well worth the work we're doing to preserve that tower well into the future. District-wide bathroom improvements. We're not quite complete. This is, we're doing it here is William Allen School. You can see some of the demo on the left and some of the finished product on the right. And the walls in these bathrooms, in half of the gang bathrooms at William Allen, were drywall, sheetrock, which is porous. Now you can imagine, especially along a bank of urinals in an elementary school, if you have a porous surface back there, what happens over the course of many, many years. So those walls got removed and we put up non-porous material and redid the floors. All the floors have been redone with quartz flooring. We were able here to reuse the existing partitions. The other part of this was 4 gang bathrooms at the high school where the floors are all done. The plumbing fixtures have been upgraded, and we're just waiting on, we got the partitions in, but they shipped with the wrong hardware. So we're waiting to get the correct hardware, and we'll get those installed. So those 4 gang baths at the high school are not yet in service. They were closed throughout much of COVID, so the school can function okay without them, but once we get them up, they're the 4 easiest ones to access, and they're gonna be beautiful. I can't wait to share with you some pictures of those next month. Air quality improvement project is moving forward. And We're finishing up Garnick, Chamberlain is ongoing, and McClellan is on deck. So you've heard me talk a lot about the air quality improvement project. And one of the main things we're doing is we're upgrading the district-wide building automation system, the controls. And this is actually 3 pictures, just to kind of give you an idea of what those controls look like. The picture on the left, this is the second floor at the Credo Center. And somewhere in a server, we have a virtual server stood up. We host what's called the front end. And we will, when we're done, have maps like this of every square inch of every school. And all these little buttons, these are all clickable. You can talk back and forth to pieces of equipment. You can get real-time information about what's going on in rooms. And the server, everything that's happening in the big picture on the left, that talks out to buildings. And this picture is a larger building level controller. This is like a big brain. It's going to talk to a lot of these smaller brains. And the smaller brains will each take care of maybe 3 or 4 classrooms or 4 more sophisticated pieces of equipment. It might be one of those. I don't know if anybody has any experience with like a Raspberry Pi device. Okay, these are like complicated Raspberry Pis. They're the upgraded version of Raspberry Pi. And we're putting them everywhere to replace the Honeywell infrastructure that had aged out of usefulness. This project is entirely funded through ESSER funds. I shouldn't say that. Some of the work that we're doing under this is going to be locally funded. Much of this project is funded through ESSER funds. There's another round of ESSER funds that we've kind of set aside with discussion. There were some proposals made that possibly this could go into the construction of a new school. Don't know if that will happen or not, but if it doesn't, we don't want to lose that money. So we're mobilizing now with Banwell and EEI to look at other alternative projects to make sure that any ESSER money that's coming to this community will get utilized in this community. And we're starting, one of the things we're meeting next week is we had talked about space needs for band and chorus and athletics. And we're going to start looking at those loosely to see how that might fit into an ESSER funded project. Not sure it will, but we're beginning to look that way. Spalding High School Field Storage Building, final electric is complete, still waiting on the overhead door. I told you we were going to put up a temporary door, and we didn't do that because Mr. Goodwin, the musical director, wasn't sure that he could get the parental support during band camp to move the stuff out. So I didn't want to put up a temp door if we didn't have to. He was able to get a tremendous amount of parental support, and they emptied and threw away a lot of stuff out there. Thank you, Mr. Pappas and company. So there's still some stuff to move over. We're still waiting on the parts. I'm at the point now where I told you, you guys have to put up some kind of a temporary door. I'm starting to notice when I drive by there's trash appearing in there, and I'm afraid it's going to become a place where people want to spend the night, and we want to head that off before it becomes that way. So we're working now to put in a temporary door until we can get the parts for the proper door that will be our final product. Computerized maintenance management system. I'm happy to report that Master Library product has launched. It's what we're using now for all of our work orders for technology and for maintenance. And I'm still learning a lot about it. It's a tremendous, powerful piece of software. I can tease out all kinds of data, but I've always ended with an update on work orders, and this month I'd like to show it to you this way. For the maintenance work orders, 100% of the maintenance work orders is 119 work orders. So 119 was the number of work orders created. This is calendar August. The status of those work orders, completed and closed, is really the same thing. We brought some in under a status of closed that was a leftover from the way we used to do things. That will hopefully evaporate over time. Assigned are ones we're working on. Pending are ones we haven't quite read yet. We're going to read them and then assign them out, and they'll get worked on. And others were things that were rejected or removed by the user before anything had to happen with them. So if you add the closed 12 and the completed 50, that's 6. And the 3. That gives me 65 work orders over 119 created. It gives us a close ratio of 0.55 to 1. And that is a little bit down from 0.71 to 1 last month. And now open, I usually report that, and I didn't have it up here because it's 153, but that data is a little contaminated because, like I said, we brought work orders in from the old solar wind system, and I've got a lot of stuff that it's 5 or 6 years old that's showing now as pending. I'm not sure why it was completed a long time ago. It's just the way the data migrated. So we've got to kind of tease through that. But that product is up and running and seems to be very user-friendly. That's all I have for facilities update. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Mr. Lynch?
Could you explain, I was here when we bought the JVC, and I've been here every time the damn thing breaks down. Can you explain what the primary function of that piece of equipment is?
It has a few different functions. So it's a lightweight loader, so we can use it with, it's got a bucket in the front for scooping, and we can move material with it. It has different attachments that go on the front. One of those is a snow blower to support the Kubota also has a snow blower attachment. For areas we have lots of long walkways and cul-de-sacs, areas you can't get a plow into, that we got to get the snow removed from.
If I could follow up.
Go ahead.
So understanding the purpose and function of that apparatus, for it to go down for as long as it's gone down, and the hurdles we have to obtain parts and service, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of our guys, one of your guys, more specifically, not one of ours, actually rebuilt part of that hydraulic system a couple of years ago because we couldn't get parts. He had to tear it down, he rebuilt some stuff in there, right? Didn't you have to do load them up?
I think that's the Kubota you're
Oh, was
thinking
it
about, the
Kubota?
Kubota we worked
So,
on, yeah.
Understanding the fragility of snow days and the temperament of weather in New England, would it be fair for this committee to ask if you could tell us what it would cost to replace that apparatus? Can we know that number? Can we do a homework on that?
I could certainly get that information for you. If I felt like I was in a place where I wanted to ask to replace it, I would be asking that, but I'm not. And the reason is, I can get school open without that machine.
Okay.
Big function of that machine, because I have the Kubota snow blower, so we can get school open. A big function of this machine is to push snow back. After we go crazy, we do the initial removal, we get the kids in the building, and then we spend the next 3 or 4 days pushing the snowbanks back, really opening things up to the level that they need to be. And if we needed to get support from the city on that, I'm sure that we could, or we could wait a little bit to get parts for it. So if you want me to pursue information on replacing that machine, the machine's still new enough that, hopefully hopefully part of the delay on this was supply chain stuff, and hopefully we'll be entering a world where that won't plague us as much over the next year or two. And the machine's still relatively new in its life cycle.
Right. I think it's better just for us to understand if there was something we couldn't get, what it would cost for us to look at it. And again, I don't want to overdo it, like I don't want to bid, if we're going to do to a Kubota version of this, what does that look like? You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying, so if there's ever a situation where we have to pull the trigger, we're not shell-shocked by a number. That's all I'm really looking
Okay, sure.
Sandy had a question?
Yes, thank you. I've done a ton of reading on this pandemic and COVID and this whole business and school buildings. And everything I have read says the best way to keep school buildings open is to have great ventilation systems. So I guess, how are we doing on all of our, at least elementary buildings?
So we're running our ventilation full bore. We ventilate the buildings as much as we can with the equipment that we have. We do, typically, pre-COVID, we would ventilate for 8 hours, and we're now at 24 hours. So we're ventilating 3 times as much air as we used to do. And we went through, at the beginning of COVID, we went through great lengths to, the Honeywell system was really an energy management system. It was designed to close things and to turn them off. It wasn't really designed to turn things on, which is what we were trying to do with COVID. I wanted to open dampers and forget about energy, I just want air. And we did a whole lot of controls reconfiguring to get the Honeywell system to do that. As we move forward with the new Distech control system by CTI and EEI, we'll have far more control on that. And one of the other pieces that we're looking at as we move forward in that project will be improving pieces of primary ventilation equipment. There are 2 bonded lines now for district-wide HVAC upgrades, and that's all going to be looking at ventilation. And yeah, I agree. It's moved air is kind of seems to be the sum of the best thing is.
Keeps those mass mothers away from you too.
Sure, yeah.
You don't want them coming through.
In water chemistry, they say the solution to pollution is dilution. It's the same in air. It's dilute. If you think of the bug as pollution, I want to dilute it by bringing in more fresh air. So the solution to pollution is dilution, and that's ventilation in this case. And yeah, we're doing everything that we can possibly with the equipment. And that's been to a toll. You've heard Mr. Busey say a few times, like the wear on our equipment. In one school year last year, we actually put 3 years' worth of wear on a piece of equipment. And our it took a toll on our budget, and we'll continue to as we continue to drive stuff as hard as we can. But we're not gonna shut it down until we all feel safe doing that.
You know, that ARP money should have, everything I read said it should have ventilation money in it.
Right.
So we're doing that.
Sure, and that's, this controls money is
Yeah.
to improve the ventilation with the equipment we have and to make improvements with equipment.
Matt, you had a question?
Yeah, how much was the boom rentals that you had to?
So the second one, the first one I showed you, I think is about 1,500. I'm keeping track of that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I have a
Because
spreadsheet.
the boom that,
that,
if we did buy one, would have solved the need for
I will have a
rental.
spreadsheet to share with you at some point here,
Very much.
probably next budget cycle.
Dave, on water fountains in the
Yes, ma'am.
schools, are they in good working order?
Yes, we put water bottle filling stations in all of our schools, and we've had to do a couple of rounds of enhancing that. In fact, I've got 2 more sitting on pallets now looking for homes. So especially at the high school, you'll see little spots where there were water fountains that are no longer in service, they're gone, or little alcoves in the hallway where there used to be one that's been abandoned. But the ones that we have are working, and they've been flushed, and we're testing them as part of the lead in drinking water.
Okay.
We'll
'Cause they-
absolutely look, and that's the other thing, we're only required to test where people will drink from in food prep and nurses' offices. But that would mean all the other things we should label non-potable, and we didn't want to do that, so we tested every single faucet in every single building. Every place where water comes out of a pipe will get tested.
Well, I believe that to be the case. There've been a lot of comments on Facebook
Okay.
about the water fountains, and I knew that school wouldn't be starting with our water fountains in disrepair. So thank you for that clarification. Any other questions for Mr. Toddy? Matt?
I do. You spent a lot of money and a lot of time and effort on the high school library this summer, I believe, right? Fixing it up and improving it and whatnot. And that space is not air conditioned?
That's correct.
Do you have any kind of ballpark figure what it would cost to air condition that space, which would encourage students to go and use it in the hot weather months?
I don't, shooting from the hip,
You don't need to give me an answer
350
to.
to 400,000,
Okay, I was gonna say, you can always come back
yeah.
with.
Because you wouldn't just air condition it, right? You would revisit the entire way we do business because of the ventilation stuff. So what we would do is we would add a heat recovery ventilation system that would give us the ventilation and allow us to keep the heat in the building with doing the ventilation. As part of that, we could add dehumidification to that system, which in a lot of spaces, you know, there's 100% cooling. We saw this at the tech center project, if you remember the JBC, where the area where the building was broken up. This area has cooling, this area has dehumidification, this area doesn't have anything. Dehumidification is it's that intermediary step between full cooling, but you're just taking the humidity out of the air, which makes it a lot more comfortable. It's a lower price point, and it's a lower energy consumption. So you can achieve, the first step of cooling is dehumidification. So we do that piece without going all the way to full comfort cooling. So that you would look at improved ventilation, then you would look at dehumidification, and then you would look at air conditioning. And if you were going to do that in that part of the building, you would probably do that whole stack, because the way those air handlers are set up now, the cafeteria, the library, and the art complex are all in one kind of a shaft, and there are 3 pieces of equipment in a central mechanical room up top that drop down and feed all 3 of those spaces. And you'd probably move a lot of that out onto the roof. So it would be a heavily engineered project that would need to be looked at.
Okay,
Mhm.
I was just curious.
Yep, yeah.
Sitting in there, from you know, my daughter's point of view, you know, listening to stories and that this beautiful brand new facility, well, not brand new facility, but it looks brand new. And they're encouraging students to use it, and when it gets hot and humid and whatnot, it's very difficult to encourage those kids to use it. And you can even use it more in the summertime with the different organizations or school things that are going on in the summertime.
So historically, schools weren't air conditioned, and, you know, as we move into the future, I think that the minimum dehumidification is gonna be an integral part of any school space.
Sandy had a question?
Yeah, thank you. Do we have any assessments on the solar operation over in East Rochester?
Off the top of my head, I don't. So that's a power purchase agreement. So we don't own the equipment on none of our solar farms. We don't own any of the equipment. What we've done is we've signed, basically we've leased out our roof space to companies that put this array in there, and we've agreed to purchase every kilowatt they can make, because they were sized such that they knew they were never going to make more than we needed. Because that's how, when they went in place, that's how the rebates from the federal government worked. So they're actually investment dollars that went into these solar farms, and they're getting money from us buying electricity back. And there's an escalation on the rate of that electricity, but that is less than the historic PSNH escalation, which after the most recent PSNH increase, or it's not PSNH anymore.
Eversource.
Yeah, Eversource. I'm going way back there, sorry. My folder's still marked PSNH. But after the last rate increases, you know, our solar is looking like a better and better investment. But what I'm driving at is that you're asking about performance. So they make their money by selling me electricity. They monitor every kilowatt. They look at every panel, and if a panel stops functioning or has diminished function, my phone rings, and they're saying, hey, what's going on in that roof? I want to get up there and take a look at it, because that's how they make their money. So I'm sure they're functioning at peak, because there's a completely automated system of they're watching, because every kilowatt is money.
And our website has the solar logs for all of the schools that we have solar on. So on the district webpage, you can just go to our district, and all the solar logs are there.
Thank you, Mr. Toddy.
Thank you.
Next item, cafeteria table bid.
So we have a cash CIP line 23402 that's funded with $25,000, which was allocated for the purchase of cafeteria tables. We put out a bid, same as a 2019 purchase of tables, and we drew 11 respondents, which was great. We got a lot of activity on that bid. WB Mason was the low bidder, and they're bidding the same tables as we bought last time. The cost this time is $1,830 per table. And I was a little surprised by that, because the last time we bought them pre-COVID, just before COVID, they were $1,087 per table. And the company that we paid $1,087 to was actually more than WB Mason. They were the third lowest bidder. So these tables have had quite an increase in cost. But we do have enough money in the line to purchase 13 tables, which I'm recommending the purchase of 13 tables for the Gonick Elementary School, totaling $23,790. And while you're thinking about this, I'll just add this not so fun statistic. The number one cause of custodial injuries is cafeteria tables. You hurt your back when you raise and lower these things. It's a jerking, lifting motion, and this is where we lose custodians, is with old tables. So I encourage you to approve this purchase.
Mr. Toddy, how many tables are there currently in use at Gonick? Is this
14.
replacement? So you're getting almost all of them?
I'm getting almost all of them, yes, sir.
So if you wanted to add the one more,
We wouldn't have it in the cash CIP line, but we could, I could look for it in an operating line, equipment line. My kitchen equipment lines were defunded at the beginning of the year, so a little shy there, but
it stinks to have one table short.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. We can probably find the purchase to get if you authorize me to spend the full $25,000 with WB Mason on tables, I'm sure we can find a few dollars to get that 14th table.
I'll make the motion that we approve the bid as presented with the intent to find the remaining dollars required to fill all 14 tables.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion passes, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question about that? These new tables, are they easier to lift?
They have, they have torsion bars and a hydraulic cylinder assist in them, so the newer tables will always be easier to lift than the old ones. The old ones had all that, but the cylinders wear out, the torsion bars lose their, and they get racked too over time. The things don't line up and move as smoothly as they once did.
Yep. A lot of heavy use.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next item, 5-year plan.
Do we have an action move for them?
You do, you have homework to do in November.
Right.
I didn't do my homework.
I didn't do it
Okay,
yet.
so
It's not
there's
due
not
till-
homework to be done before this meeting.
Right,
So
it has to be done in.
I'll go over
before
just because not everyone from the representative from building, you guys weren't able to make it, so I'm just going over the whole thing.
Good.
There's documentation that Kyle put in his update.
Yep.
It just reminds you what is already your list.
Right. I saw
The
that.
5-year committee at the next meeting is gonna go through, we just had more of a lengthy conversation on something else, so we're going through the community survey results, and we're gonna send it back items more. So there's a list of items that were already given to you that said this came from community survey. We're gonna go through detailed line item to see if there's anything specific given to us.
Okay,
For you as a group in October to then redo your, here's our top 3.
Yep.
Here's our parking lot.
Yep.
Then you're gonna send that report back to 5-year, and in 5-year, in November, the goal will be to, as a district, of every top 3 from every committee, what is the district top 3?
Yep.
And then, and it could be, and it's always gonna be updating every month. So, that's where it is now, so, not necessarily.
thanks, Matt. Any public comment? Any other?
Just a shout out to Mr. Toddy's crew.
Oh, God, yeah.
Your crew, getting the schools prepped and ready, you know, everywhere from custodial up to grounds crew. Getting the schools prepped and ready and opened and safe and clean and everything, and looking good. I mean, the district looks good, good representation of Rochester, so.
I drove by the Spalding and the football field, and it just kind of takes your breath away how everything was so well mowed, and it just beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that, Dave. All right, so,
Will that help them win tomorrow night?
pardon me?
Will that help them win tomorrow night?
Yes, it will.
Help them win tomorrow.
Oh, I hope so. The band show will be, I can't wait to see that, and the football game too, but,
Football game, I seen the band show.
yeah. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.